is Review of Raw. I am John Pollock along with Wei Ting as we are just 2 weeks away from WrestleMania and we are going to be diving into Raw from Monday night in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I can't wait. 2 weeks.
What a crowd in Philadelphia on Monday night for this road to WrestleMania way. I mean, these fans, they were at the...
They're rabid.
What's the opposite of the edge of your seat? They were at the back of their seats.
They were sunken in and disappeared.
They were fastened to those seats. There was no edge. There was no fear of falling out of their seat.
Maybe they were sitting backwards into the seats.
They were reclining.
Yeah, they were looking at the ceiling, perhaps.
Yes, looking back at days gone by in the city that has hosted WrestleManias. And
You're trying to say that the crowd was bad tonight.
I'm trying to say that it was a very ho-hum crowd for a show that I more and more when we see down crowds, I really am not looking at the crowd
Me neither.
as being the problem.
Yeah.
I look at of course they're down. Look at this show for 3+ hours.
Yeah.
There was some stuff to talk about on this show.
Yeah, some, but overall it was not, I wouldn't say it was a good show, and I don't necessarily blame the crowd's reaction completely. I will say Philadelphia perhaps has higher expectations. If this same show took place, in a crowd kind of maybe not known for being so hard on the product, perhaps it would have received a better reaction. But the combination of Philly kind of having such a great wrestling legacy and this show not being that good did not make for a good crowd reaction all night.
Well, the show started off the top, actually, with a dedication to a woman named Mary Catherine Stewart, who was the daughter of one of the WWE's longtime cameramen, and it was a very sad story. She was 22, and she was hiking and suffered this fall and ended up dying as a result of that. So that was the dedication off the top, if you weren't familiar with the name. And then the show started with Stephanie McMahon coming out, and Stephanie has now incorporated this, dancing bit into her walkout down the ramp that she's now.
Care to demonstrate on video?
No, I don't want to isolate our audio listeners with that. But she comes out, she starts shaking her hips around, and she's getting much more animated now with her entrance.
She seems obviously, I think she's been comfortable on camera for a long time, but it really feels like she's out there to have fun now.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
To have fun. She comes out, and she says that Triple H will not be here tonight and gives people 60 seconds to go get a refund. And I'm sure some contemplated it. This was a Raw that, of the ones we've seen and what we will get next week, no Shane on this show. No Undertaker, no Brock Lesnar, and they're teasing no Hunter. I don't know how much of a real detraction that would necessarily be, but nonetheless, this was a Raw that didn't exactly have the star power that this month's episodes have had.
Yeah. Do you expect all of those people to be back next week?
Oh, they're all on next week's show. Next week is the big final Raw, so everyone will be on next week's. She says that Hunter has corporate responsibilities to take care of, and it's not because of the attack that Roman Reigns delivered last week. Did you happen to watch the very graphic video they posted of Hunter getting all fixed up last week after that attack with the glass in his back?
Mm-hmm. God,
Stephanie was in fear that this man was going to be... she's pointing out all the little shards of glass in his back. It was man... She was very concerned about this glass.
I would be.
Well,
you kidding me?
It's not going to kill you.
How many times have you taken glass into the back, John?
Into the back?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened.
I'm sure your wife would be very concerned if she saw glass shards in your back.
Have you ever stepped on glass stuff?
No, I haven't. I'm glad I haven't.
Well, anyway, they were not taking any risks with this glass. God forbid that shards of glass took out another WrestleMania competitor. They've lost all these people to injury. They can't lose Hunter here to some weird glass problem. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she starts ragging on the audience and gets interrupted by Roman Reigns. So they set his music up for a part where hopefully the Philadelphia crowd would respond positively. Once again, Roman Reigns coming from the back, which appears to be his new entrance. And Cole notes how Reigns has won the Royal Rumble and the WWE title in this building in the Wells Fargo Center. And Reigns comes into the ring, and he is not given a hero's welcome here in Philadelphia, not at all. He takes the mic and shushes Stephanie, and she was not having any of this. He says that Hunter didn't want to get his ass whooped all over Broad Street. to try and connect with the audience. This was a politician that was losing ground to his opponent, trying and reinvigorate his base, who has become very disillusioned with this candidate who may not get elected in 2 weeks.
He knows the street in Philadelphia.
Yes, Broad Street in Philadelphia, where we will go and watch a Flyers game. He goes on and says that he's going to take the title back from Hunter, and Stephanie and her daddy's money cannot stop him. And then Stephanie goes to slap him. Roman catches her, stops her, and says, "Now I'm the authority." And that was Roman Reigns' entire live interaction with the crowd tonight. This was about 3 minutes total, but he would return later on in the evening backstage. This was maybe the shortest opening segment of Raw I can recall.
It was very brief.
This was like 7-8 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't think it needed to be any longer. To be honest, I feel like it was a good brief showing by Roman Reigns, but it was.
This is your main eventer.
This audience pretty much made its mind before they got there. They were gonna boo Roman Reigns pretty much no matter what he did tonight. And not saying what he did tonight was all that spectacular, but I don't think Reigns could have done anything to save the reaction that he received tonight. It
seems that the idea is we're going to keep his stuff very short. We're giving him this pseudo edge now where he somewhat plays to the crowd, but not overtly anymore.
They're trying to make him, like Steve Austin, like somebody who is unpredictable. And
They certainly are not trying to very much get him over to their audience. I think they have resigned the fact that this is where this guy stays, but it also, like, I watched this show, he did not feel like the guy that is going for the title in 2 weeks at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He's a very...
He
had a small role on this show, is what I will say.
He was in this segment, and then he was in the... any segment involving the match he was a part of.
Well, I'm just saying there wasn't a whole lot of it. He had 30 seconds of interaction with his opponent. This is very much the number 2, if not number 3 match at WrestleMania to me.
Yeah, perhaps.
In terms of promotion. Each week on Review of Raw, pay attention for the secret question. You can tweet the answer at Law Radio every week for your chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees. Kevin Owens and AJ Styles had a non-title match. This thing went 20 minutes, close to. Mm-hmm. Styles hit a drop kick, sending Owens to the floor, and then Styles took a flapjack onto the barricade going through a commercial. They came back, and Styles is fighting back, misses with a Pele kick. He went for the Ushigoroshi, which was identified first as the fireman's carry into the knee, and then as almost an AA into a neck breaker, which is just weird because it's being called one name on one show, and on the other, it's not being identified by that name.
I'm assuming they don't even know what the name is.
Well, Cole would know. Cole is producing these guys.
You would think so, but I don't know if Cole himself is able to identify what that move looks like and is called. He probably hears it in his headset, and he's like, oh, that's the name of a move. Maybe he doesn't know. Otherwise, he would have called it, I'm sure.
Owens, did you happen
or maybe he feels like
Jerry Lawler was very confused by this move on SmackDown last week.
Or maybe Cole feels like, why are we calling it that? What does that move? What does Ushigoroshi mean? Like to the layman who.
Well, it's clearly it's being allowed on one show.
It's being allowed, but that doesn't mean that somebody like Michael Cole would think it was right. To somebody like a Michael Cole,
Cole produces the announcers.
But it doesn't mean he's telling Morrow to say that. Morrow is saying that because he knows that's the name of the move.
Well, I think if he had an issue with it, he'd say, stop doing that.
I don't think he has an issue. I'm just saying I feel like maybe to Michael Cole, he wants to convey a message to the layman who doesn't know what Ushigoroshi is.
All right. I'm just saying that if that's your philosophy, then it should be consistent.
I agree it should be consistent, yes.
Owens then blocks a top rope Hurricane Rana and hits a frog splash, and they got a great near fall. As JBL said, like the bumblebee, he's not supposed to fly, but he does. Future character for Kevin Owens, the bumblebee. Styles holds on to the ropes, avoiding a pop-up powerbomb, and then they have this big exchange of punches. There's a super kick by Owens. Styles then hits a Pele kick. Both are down. They go to a second commercial break. Styles then gets away from a superplex, applies a torture rack into a spinning sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count. Then there's a sunset flip powerbomb out of the corner by Styles for a 2 count. And finally, Chris Jericho comes out chanting AJ Styles, and it leads to a springboard by Styles onto Owens' shoulders. He rolls into the calf crusher, but he can see Jericho, but then he gets onto the apron, and that's just too much for AJ, and he's got to release the hold, goes for Jericho, who hops away, and Owens, with a schoolboy, pins AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought a very good match. I didn't even mind the finish.
I minded this later. I didn't mind this in the moment. But my God, this distraction finish, it's got to be a running joke at this point.
At least in this match, there were 2 distraction finishes, okay? It took 2 distraction roll-ups to get
So
the
he's
win.
got a better attention span than he had in prior weeks.
Yeah, next week maybe it'll take 3, As long as they keep adding more to it, I
just hope Chris Jericho doesn't have a twin brother hiding somewhere. Very problematic. Very good match.
Yeah.
As I said, this went just over 19 minutes.
A lot of fresh offense from both men.
They introduced a lot of different offense.
Yeah, that frog splash from Owens. I'm pretty sure that's the first time he did that in the WWE. How messed up do you think AJ's back is right now? Because all this news about his back injury from New Japan. As far as I know, he's been wrestling straight.
He's working a full schedule. He's doing all the house shows. So I don't imagine it's 100%, but he's managing. He was working with doing the DDP yoga for a bit. I don't know if he's continuing that, but that's helped a number of individuals who have had back problems.
But for somebody like AJ on such a upswing of momentum right now, I don't know if I see any break for him in the near future.
Well, watching that Shinsuke Nakamura match when his back was supposed to be a mess and seeing what he did, this is a guy that is not going to... He's not going to be mortgaging his performance for his health concerns. Owens then gets on the microphone and says everyone wants to know who's going to face him at KO Mania, and he gets interrupted by Dolph Ziggler, who says that you can call it whatever you want, including Botchamania or Axelmania, and no one is more fitting to steal the show than him and beat Owens. And Owens asks if that's a crappy joke from his stand-up routine. That prompts The Miz to come out and brings up Ziggler's loss to Triple H last week, a very viable point on The Miz's part. But then Ziggler tells him to go relive his glory days on the WWE Network and brings up the fact that he beat The Miz on SmackDown last week. So these two are both losers from the past week. Sami Zayn comes out and the crowd is chanting Olay, and you could see Zayn was kind of just standing there hoping it would escalate. It didn't, but there were chances for him. Yeah. The Miz calls him the skinny Seth Rogen, and then, which is funny because Seth Rogen is lost weight.
He's kind of skinny.
Seth Rogen is the skinny Seth Rogen now, I guess. And Owens says that none of them deserve the title shot, and he offers to go make a 3-way match with them for the title shot at WrestleMania, and he goes to the back.
I think Sami Zayn sounds great when he speaks, and I'm disappointed they really haven't given him more of a chance to talk and kind of talk about his character or his motivation. It's there, but I don't think he's fully connected with the audience at large yet.
Log on to FightNetwork.com daily for podcasts from Live Audio Wrestling covering the entire industry on a daily basis. Dean Ambrose is at a tavern in Philadelphia earlier in the day, and he's just talking to somebody off camera. It could have been nobody. And he says how he's going to reach down deep against Brock Lesnar, and he's going to pull out his bile and wipe it over Brock Lesnar, which was a harrowing visual.
His bile.
His bile. That is awful. And then, in the most random moment of Raw on Monday night, who should walk into the shot but Terry Funk? And he cuts this great promo about Ambrose being crazy and tough. He calls him the best in the country and says that if he had a son, he would want him to be just like Ambrose. And he says, this was the best line, if I had a daughter, and he just pauses. So the idea was that mid-sentence he remembered he had a number of daughters. And then, this was so great. The instrument that is most closely associated with Terry Funk in his career. I mean, this really played off of last week. He said, Dean, I want you to take Brock Lesnar to the dark recesses of Suplex City, because there in the outskirts of that city is the Double Cross Ranch. And he pulled out his branding iron. No. That would have been great. That would have been logical. That's something you associate with Terry Funk, a branding iron. But instead, he pulled out the chainsaw, which was Terry Funk's tool for, I think, 3 months. Maybe 3 months.
You're going to get WWE versions, of these guys. These are WWE written, They're thinking that WWE fans don't know the branding iron. They associate him more with the chainsaw, is my thinking.
I mean, I'm not saying, at least with the branding iron, you bring that out at WrestleMania, you light that on fire, you'll get a great reaction. You don't have to use it.
Yeah,
but what the hell are they going to do with a chainsaw? They're going to do a chainsaw spot?
Yeah.
What was the point?
They are.
Like last week's made so much sense. The barbed wire baseball bat completely makes sense for the street fight. They are not using a damn chainsaw. And if they do, it's gonna drastically affect this match.
They are going to tease a chainsaw spot, okay? Brock Lesnar will be laid across the...
Oh, Brock's gonna grab that thing and throw it like that car door.
Brock will be laid across the announce table, and Dean Ambrose will have the chainsaw ready to chainsaw Brock Lesnar in half.
Oh, he's going to miss and hit the announce desk?
Yes.
Saw it in half?
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Or maybe saw something. But it'll look cool.
I don't want to see it.
The chainsaws are a little over the line, yes.
They're
kind of beyond the believability. But so is a branding iron. Come on.
No, the branding iron, though, it's a great visual if you just light it. That crowd sees fire away. It's no less silly than a flaming table. It's associated with Terry Funk. Like, if you're going to use this guy, I mean, use the foreign object that he's most closely associated with.
But again, it's to a WWE fan, and more particularly Vince McMahon. What does Vince McMahon associate Terry Funk with? More so the branding iron or the...
This was also the company that renamed Dory Funk Jr. when he came in. It was Haas Funk at WrestleMania 2. Which might or may not be a trivia question on the televised portion of Review or Raw, which if you answer correctly and are drawn as the winner, you will win a T-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Not the, what was the name of Dory Funk in the WWE?
That was not the trivia question.
Another question, yes.
So then we had... we got a lot of theme songs.
Well, hold on. What do you think we'll get next week? Or are we going to get any more on Dean Ambrose's trip throughout the
next
country?
week they're in Brooklyn. Maybe Taz is going to introduce the Kacha Hachime.
Or a towel.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Give
him a jumpsuit.
Maybe New Jack. With a knife.
He can explain to Dean Ambrose it was either me or him. He's out there with Barry Blaustein in the back seat with Dean.
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose and Barry Blaustein could pass as a father-son combo, I think, hanging out with New Jack.
I don't know Barry Blaustein well enough to know what he looks like.
Oh, that's the connection with Beyond the Mat. You got Mick Foley, Terry Funk, and New Jack.
Oh, boy.
That's Dean Ambrose. He is the birth of the Beyond the Mat icons.
Yes.
There you go. And Dennis Stamp.
Oh, my.
This writes itself. We've got a second Flow Rider song for WrestleMania because it's going to be a long show.
Oh, we got two Flow Riders.
We now have his home song, whatever that is. I hate that song, whatever it's called. Now we have Hello Friday.
Wouldn't it be better to have Flow Rider for next year when the show's in Orlando?
We probably will have him next year for Orlando.
For every year.
They love. He's the new Saliva.
Yeah.
When Papa Roach and Saliva aren't pumping out tunes at the regularity, they got to rely on Flow Rider. Mm-hmm. Owens is in the back and approaches Stephanie and says how he has climbed the ladder of success. So right there, you knew exactly what this was building to, what kind of match it was building towards. I was not aware of all the participants, but you did know the gimmick they were going with. And he says he's risen faster than anyone in history, and he wants a high-profile match at WrestleMania, which Stephanie just laughed and said, we got shame for that, and says she wants him to be quick. And Owens proposes a triple threat for later on. She agrees, and Owens says to tell Hunter that he says hi. Then we got a video for the Shane and Undertaker match and featuring comments from Mick Foley, John Cena, Michael Hayes, Booker T, Chris Jericho, who compared this to a Game of Thrones scenario with the prodigal son Shane McMahon. Edge spoke on the match, Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Jerry Lawler. They showed a headline of when Shane McMahon left the company in 2009. They had photos of a very young Shane McMahon and the line from Mick Foley that The Undertaker is the man willing to do anything in the structure that redefines anything. And I thought this was a good video. And this is how this match should be built off of promos and packages like this.
I think a lot of matches should be built based off of promos.
These two need to be in different areas of the building next Monday. They do not have to touch one another next week. Next week needs to be Shane's big promo of why he left the company in 2009, because he saw this company going down the dumps and he's here to save it.
That would be great.
Shane needs to cut a very big promo next week, and that should be the involvement. This Wednesday on Review Away, it's a big look back at WrestleMania 23 from 2007, featuring the Battle of the Billionaires between Vince McMahon and Donald Trump. Wei Ting and I will have a full review of WrestleMania, plus a 2007 Law interview with CM Punk and Dan Lavransky, who attended that WrestleMania at Ford Field. Wednesday morning at liveaudiowrestling.com. Tune in. New Day is getting ready for their match. The League of Nations are already in the ring, and they talk for an extended period of time about how the New Day are not in their class. They show a video of their attack from last week, and they try to get a New Day sucks chant going. The New Day comes out, and they have cue cards stating that you are trash.
Yeah, are they trying to get a chant going? Or?
They're trying to launch an emoji, I think. And they kicked the garbage that they placed all these cards in, and the bag, sadly, didn't even come close to clearing the ring and just fell right in front of them.
Yeah, for a New Day promo, I thought this felt very flat, and I didn't really understand the intent. I think that's sort of the point with a lot of these New Day promos is they're very inside, and you're not supposed to get everything. But this one, I just didn't feel like elicit any type of reaction, especially live.
I feel that this rundown of the League of Nations that they did one by one and pairing off the Shame and Sheamus's name, I feel the reaction we had is reaction probably 90% of people have to the final 5 minutes of our show every week, coming up with the name. I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
Where maybe some find it amusing, but others just hate me, and you get a little bit of that.
Yeah, we'll keep doing it.
Big E, well, that's New Day's motto. Big E and Rusev had a match, and this was nearly a tragedy. Big E had a big splash on the apron as they went to a break, and Xavier Woods played the trombone. During the break, Big E was thrown into the steps, and the League of Nations attacked Kingston and Woods by the timekeeper's table. They were out for approximately an hour, unconscious. There was the belly to booty that Big E hit on Rusev 3 times, and then went for a splash, and Rusev got his knees up. Rusev ran into a Uranagi for a 2 count. And then Kingston and Woods eventually come back, and they're assisting Big E. Big E ran into the knee of Rusev on the apron and then took a head kick for a 2 count. And then Big E gets distracted by Barrett on the apron. There's a super kick by Rusev. Woods takes out Barrett and Del Rio, and Sheamus then knocks him down. Big E counters the accolade into an electric chair, and then Sheamus gets up onto the apron. Big E does his running tackle spot to take Sheamus out, and Big E landed in an awful position. He landed on his neck, going down onto the floor. I couldn't believe this guy got up unscathed from this. He nearly killed himself. This tackle spot, he really needs to reassess this move. Because it's not like it's a move that gets the stunning reaction, and he nearly gave himself a stunner or a stinger. Anyway, it ended with a big ending, and Big E got the win. I don't exactly know what these guys are fighting for, because the New Day has beat them in like every match. The numbers advantage are on the side of the team that continually loses, and the New Day are in the handicap position here, but they're winning everything going into the WrestleMania match.
The booking is very strange, and I think they've done a good job transitioning to a babyface team, but I especially tonight, I didn't feel like the crowd wanted Big E to win that badly. You know what I mean? I almost got the sense that they weren't sure who they should be cheering for because they're baby faces, I know, but
they weren't even selling the attack from last. Like, that was a big injury angle they did, laying out all of them for an extended period of time. And this week, they not only were fine, they beat them and prevailed in this segment.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there are rumors that The Rock might be involved. I mean, if anything were
They're
to
probably,
happen,
Rock, we got this. We're good.
I suppose.
Do something more important.
But going into it, at least at this point, I feel like this feud might be a little cold.
Bray Wyatt cut a promo talking about starting anew and being born again. Harper says you cannot begin again without sacrificing another. And Strowman says the God of War is watching over them tonight, and they will offer the body of Ambrose for his family. So I almost feel the Wyatts are going in this this weird direction on their promos, like they're like a terrorist group or something.
Or
sacrificing and
soul collectors.
Yes, they believe in a higher entity. Alicia Fox and Naomi did something with the Crisley guy. This was an awful Snickers ad.
Yeah, it was in the form of the like the Snickers ads where they're talking to somebody and then they eat a Snickers and they turn into their real selves.
Yeah, so what's his name? Todd Crisley?
I guess, I don't know.
Sure. Turned into Natalia.
Yeah, after eating a Snickers. It's better than the Subway ad, okay?
Some tough competition. The Law has launched its own YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to now. Simply go and search for The Law Live Audio Wrestling on YouTube, and you can get all of our videos, including classic editions of Review Away, brand new Review of Raw episodes, and the return of Ask Away, where Wei Ting and I answer your questions. Go search for The Law Live Audio Wrestling, subscribe today, and catch all of Live Audio Wrestling's videos. The Andre the Giant trophy is ringside, and they have engravings of Cesaro and Big Show as the prior winners. And then, for the first time since last year, Big Show was introduced as the 2015 Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner. And Byron Saxton, in the most ridiculous comment of the night, said, "This has the chance to change the entire course of your career." This pre-show Battle Royal win.
Did a lot for both winners so far.
JBL notes that Big Show won the WCW title in his debut match against Hulk Hogan. So
wow.
Yet another reference to Hulk Hogan. That's 2 now in 2 weeks. 1 week. Show gets on the microphone and praises Philadelphia. He's been coming here for 20 years, and Philadelphia always keeps it real. He says he's the greatest giant of all time, but he has to say that just to be confident in himself. It's really a lie, because Andre is the greatest, and says how it meant a lot last year because he hasn't won a whole lot of Battle Royals, but he won last year's, and he wants to be a 2-time winner. The Social Outcasts come out. They compared themselves to Cinderella and Voltron. Big Show called them trolls. The term hashtag was used way too much in this segment. They attacked the Big Show. They got the advantage after Slater hit him with a mic shot. And then Kane came out. Kane is back. And he cleared the ring of the Social Outcasts, and Big Show hugs Kane. And then yells, "Kane's the man!" And he goes to pose on the turnbuckle. He's just so happy that his friend has come to his rescue. And Kane choke slams Big Show off the turnbuckle to no reaction. None. And with a complete justification. I mean, this Philadelphia crowd was like, yeah, this guy's been coming here for 20 years. We like him. He's very nice. Did nothing to deserve this from Kane. And this segment was met with silence.
I think they're
And
indifferent.
this Battle Royal is going to be something.
They're indifferent to all these guys. You know, the Big Show gets chokeslammed by Kane. Okay, so what?
Yes. And they have announced this will be on the pre-show. And as well, apparently the Raw pre-show is where they're announcing all this stuff now, because they did state that the Divas match at WrestleMania will be a 4-on-4 match with Natalya involved on the babyface side. And the heel side, they get to pick their 4th member at a time to be determined, I guess. So probably Summer Rae.
Yeah.
So awesome. you got to fit that 5 to 6 o'clock hour with something. So it could be that. It could be the Dudleys, Usos. We will see. What will not be happening on the pre-show is America the Beautiful. That will kick off the actual WrestleMania because they have locked down Fifth Harmony.
Who's that?
Are you familiar with the first four? This is the fifth harmony.
Got it.
They will sing America the Beautiful, and maybe joining them will be Stan Hansen, who is going to be going into the Hall of Fame, they announced. And JBL sold this guy as God. I mean, what did he say? The greatest foreigner of all time, part of the greatest tag team of all time. I mean, just this was a deity to JBL. Yeah. I mean, JBL would probably love to be inducting this guy rather than the Godfather.
Who is inducting him?
No idea. Maybe Terry Funk. Maybe that's why he was on tonight. Who knows? Then we had a WrestleMania rewind match, which I'm sure they wanted to rewind about a month after WrestleMania that year. Fandango against Chris Jericho. This was Fandango's first match on Raw since July.
Wow.
So Jericho came out. He had new trunks and boots with sequins all over them. He was saving these for the full heel turn. And he yelled at the announcers that he never beat me at WrestleMania and calling Fandango a stupid man. Fandango caught him with a spinning heel kick and then snapped Jericho's neck on the top rope, and then he missed his top rope leg drop. I used to always say how this guy needs a new finish because he shouldn't be doing this every night, but this guy probably does this move a whole hell of a lot less than he did in 2013, so I'm less concerned about his long-term health. And then Styles comes out chanting, "Y2 jackass." And he just repeats this over and over. And Jericho's distracted. Fandango goes for an inside cradle, but only a 2 count, and Jericho recovers from the distraction. He is able to focus on 2 individuals at once and then shift his priority to the man in the ring, and he hit the code breaker and won the match.
Yeah, I thought for a second they would have given Fandango this roll-up.
I thought they were for sure giving Fandango the win. Instead, they made AJ, I thought, look pretty silly here.
Yeah.
Shouldn't this have been reversed?
It's more so, perhaps, but I guess more so the fact that he was facing Fandango, and even the Fandango
tells you where he is on the pecking order.
You can't justify a distraction roll-up finish.
I just didn't understand this at all. Like, the whole point of this was that AJ is going to play the same game on Jericho and cost him a match, but he didn't. Jericho is a smarter man.
He did it first, though.
Well, it was effective when Jericho did it.
He was prepared.
Styles charges the ring and Jericho retreats, and
Jericho pulls up the cable puller as a shield briefly.
Well, he's got to be careful who he can put his hands on. Styles says he has never competed at WrestleMania and makes the challenge to Jericho, and will prove why they chant his name. And Jericho just shakes his head no, and he goes to the back.
AJ was trying to get the crowd to chant his actual name, but this crowd really wasn't playing along.
Yeah, this feud has very much been built on that chant, and it's not like it's a deafening chant, though he does get a very positive reaction. It's just not they're chanting his name.
And anytime you try to make the crowd do something, they're not going to want to do it.
So with Jericho and Styles theoretically being added, that will bring WrestleMania to 11 matches altogether. So that is pretty well everything taken care of, you would assume, unless Fandango is going to get involved somehow. But I imagine he'll probably get into the Battle Royal because they need to find some bodies for that 20-man Battle Royal. This Sunday night on The Law Live Audio Wrestling, we have 1 week to go until WrestleMania 32, and we will be joined by Dean Ambrose to chat about his street fight with Brock Lesnar coming up in Dallas, Texas. We'll also speak with Dave Meltzer and a roundtable chat previewing WrestleMania. It's The Law, Sunday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Listen live at liveaudiowrestling.com and on TSN Radio. We continued Raw, and then we went to our next segment. They mentioned Mick Foley would be on ESPN Tuesday night, and Kevin Owens is out for the ring announcing for the next match, or on commentary here.
The Shane McMahon MMA training.
Oh, yes, I went over this. The second video for The Undertaker and Shane featured Shane training, and we got comments from Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair noting that Shane is fearless, Patterson says he has guts, and then in something I never thought I would see, we got Henzo Gracie and Phil Nurse speaking on Raw, putting over the human weapon, Shane McMahon, and they proclaim he is ready for this fight with The Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, they trained Chris Weidman, George St. Pierre, Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon is going to be next on that list.
Yeah, definitely. But we got to see some of Shane's stand-up. We got to see some of his jiu-jitsu in highlight form.
What did you think? Is he blue belt worthy?
I didn't see enough of that, but he looks like a rich dude who's able to, come in and train.
Did this feel like a serious training video, or was this closer to like a parody? Or was it somewhere in the middle?
Well, I mean,
this is better than what they did last week.
I actually like this. I guess I'm a
They're
fan.
doing all the right things.
Yeah. But it's hard.
It's really hard to take Shane McMahon as this lethal weapon.
It really is. They're kind of really overselling Shane McMahon here because he just looks like, a rich dude who's able to come in and he's a middle-aged guy who's able to come in once in a while and train with celebrity trainers. That's what it looks like.
Jericho, he just doubled down and he threw all his chips in. He said, Shane McMahon, that's a main event at WrestleMania. The Undertaker, that's a main event at WrestleMania. Hell in a Cell, that's a main event. This could be the biggest main event in WrestleMania history. So Chris Jericho,
nice.
Critics be damned. Kevin Owens is out, and he is out here to announce the participants of our triple threat, and he brings out Stardust, Sin Cara, and Zack Ryder. I thought this was very cleverly done.
Did you?
The way that they had set it up where he was...
I suppose so, but this was also assuming that guys like Stardust and Sin Cara are far below the level of guys like Miz and Dolph Ziggler, when in reality, I feel like they're all pretty much at the same level, so the joke didn't really hit.
Well, it was very difficult because the story of this was Owens is trying to get away from the real competition
by bringing out
these three jokes.
Yeah.
And the announcer, Cole, was trying to not just bury these three. Because at the end of this was poorly set up, I will say. Because at the end of the day, you had to get these three into the match. They had to be presented as equals here, but they were introduced as jokes that Owens was handpicking. So in that regard, it was very difficult for what...
Especially for Stardust.
I also thought, I also went into the segment thinking it was clever because I was assuming, okay, well, we're getting the four-way. These three are not in this match. So I was wrong in that sense.
Yeah.
They had a match, and, it was really background because it led to Zayn, Miz, and Ziggler all coming out and arguing, and they were literally watching the match. The match was in the background that we weren't even focusing on.
No, it wasn't meant to be.
It was not to be taken seriously at all. Yep. And then Owens tossed Ryder on the floor, and the bell is called. It's thrown out. Everyone starts fighting. They take turns attacking Owens. And then after the break, Stephanie is on the phone, and she says she's going to meet Hunter in the parking lot momentarily. Owens walks in, complains about being attacked by the 6 men. Stephanie brings out the ladder reference and makes a ladder match with all 7. So it's Owens, Miz, Ziggler, Zayn, Stardust, Sin Cara, and Zack Ryder in a ladder match at WrestleMania.
Who would you guess was the late addition, the replacement for Neville?
I think Stardust, Sin Cara, for sure were added as a result of this. And Zack Ryder,
he couldn't have been part of the plan.
Well, I had heard things that, they were going to refocus on Ryder after Mania. I don't think he was really going to. I think all 3 were probably late additions. And what odd choices, I will say.
Good for Zack Ryder. I'm happy.
I think you could have just... I know for these ladder matches, they like to get a higher amount of people than 4, but
7, I don't think you need. I don't think you need that.
These 3 are just kind of there to be there.
Yeah. I think the match will be good. I think they're all very capable, and I look forward to the match. But there are certainly only a few options that are actually viable.
Well, the ideal was simply Owens and Zayn. It's a matter of getting all these bodies onto the show, and that's where they are. Because this would have been much stronger with just those 2, and you could have told that story. Stephanie is leaving the arena, and Hunter is there to take her away in a car. When she gets in, and they go to drive off, and the garage opens, and there, standing all in black, is the Punisher, Roman Reigns, who just comes up, opens up the car door. Stephanie shrieks as he rips Hunter out of the car, attacks him, and then Hunter makes his way back into the car, and they drive off, and Roman is left there standing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they booked Reigns well on this show as sort of, just the scary man who's terrorizing Triple H and Stephanie, but I don't think it's enough.
This car was also leaking a lot of gas as it
was,
drove off.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. He really should have lit the thing. lit the streak.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first Hunter Stephanie Mania program where a car would be destroyed.
Yeah.
Sasha and Becky are on commentary for Charlotte and Natalya's non-title match. They had to take their roadblock match and condense it into 5 minutes. There was a surfboard by Natalya early. Becky stating the only bling she's interested in is the bling on that women's title. And then also states, I'm full of charm and full of harm. Charlotte is on the corner, and she got distracted by pointing at the WrestleMania sign and led to Natalya powerbombing her. She got out of a sharpshooter attempt with a rope break. Figure 8 gets countered with an inside cradle, and then Charlotte blocks a sharpshooter, natural selection, and pins Natalya in 447.
The match, again, was also just pretty much background for Becky and Sasha to argue against. It was fine.
Bubba Ray and R-Truth, quick match. There was a light ECW chant, but not overwhelming here. It didn't get the sense that you had an older crowd that was out there. I mean...
Yeah, it's also been like 20 years.
Well, they still get reactions in certain places. I mean, there was the last time they were in Philadelphia, they were having Dreamer and Dudley's and all those guys and Rhino out. Bubba just beat down Truth during this match and was just berating him verbally. And Truth got in a bit of offense, hit him with a kick, and then Truth knocked Devon off the apron and ran into a Bubba big boot, which was the finish in 205, and Bubba yelling, "That's what's up." And then they tried to recreate the save spot that they did at Roadblock on the dark match portion with the Ascension, with Goldust running out. And I'll say this worked a whole hell of a lot better in Toronto than it did in Philadelphia, because this was Goldust coming to the aid of R-Truth and finally pairing the two together. But instead, Goldust and R-Truth got laid out by the Dudleys. The Usos came out. They super kicked both. They went to get a table and grabbed Devon, but Bubba saved Devon and ran off. So possible that they make this now a three-way, which I think we're getting into a lot of multiple-person matches on this undercard just to get everyone there.
Exactly. A lot of excuses to just put guys into these matches.
I mean, I'm glad it's the undercard and they're leaving the main matches alone, but it just
waters everything down.
Vince comes out. He notes that if a miracle occurs and Shane is running Raw, then it's likely that Hunter and Stephanie would quit the business. Likely. And it would probably mean the last that you have seen of Vince. And the crowd cheered this and says that they're enabling Shane. They replay the chokeslam from last week that Taker gave Shane, and Vince called it sweet, and says Shane will risk his life and limb and is the most formidable opponent The Undertaker has ever had at WrestleMania, saying that The Undertaker is his instrument of destruction but is also his bitch, and says that if The Undertaker loses to Shane McMahon, then it will be The Undertaker's last WrestleMania.
You said that with way more emphasis on the actual stipulation than Vince McMahon did. Because the way Vince said it, he's really just... something happened to him where he just can't deliver these important lines anymore. Because when Vince said it, it felt like just the middle of a sentence. It felt like he had more to say. It did not, take that much effect with this crowd. And so the crowd didn't react to what is actually a very big stipulation and gives reason for the Undertaker to actually participate in the match.
Yes, it does. It also gives the crowd a very rooting interest in The Undertaker to win this match, because I think they would much rather see him win this. Second of all, if Vince is out of power, what good is this stipulation? Does Shane just override it the very next night? Vince is out of power.
Yeah, good point.
What does this mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Very confusing what they're doing with this match. They plug Brock on SmackDown for this week, and then Heyman's on commentary for our main event with Dean Ambrose and Braun Strowman. This crowd started chanting, "This is boring," which I didn't disagree with.
Yeah,
These two had a very dull match. I think this would have been much better with Luke Harper. Ambrose hits some forearms, the Dirty Deeds gets blocked, and then he runs Strowman shoulder first into the post, grabs a chair, and attacks Strowman for the DQ after 6 minutes, and then lays into Strowman with chair shots. He hits the Dirty Deeds onto the chair, and the show ends with Dean Ambrose getting into Paul Heyman's face. A pretty flat ending to Raw.
The whole show felt pretty flat. I mean, I think it was emphasized by the lack of crowd reactions, but I don't really blame this crowd. I didn't think this was a very good Raw.
Yeah, it dragged quite a bit here, and it was really hurt, I think, by your big stars at WrestleMania were not on this show, and Ambrose was put in a very tough spot, I think, here with Strowman, who Strowman is what he is. He should not be in these singles matches. The idea that you're going to get some heel run with this guy, good luck.
And they're so afraid to make him lose, too. You know, thus you get...
All the more reason. Put Harper in there. They would have had such a better match, and at least I think there would have been a prayer in front of this crowd that would have done better than this, when you don't want to beat the guy, so... God, even put Rowan in there. I don't know if that would have been much better either. So, yeah, this was not a Raw to light the world on fire going into WrestleMania. Next week's show is going. They're going to pull out everything next week with all the names on, and that's your big go-home Raw for WrestleMania. But, yeah, I mean, a Raw that probably you could... great match with Owens and Styles. You can certainly put that over. The card is pretty much locked at this point. You know the whole card for WrestleMania. And that's that. So that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Review of Raw. We're back Wednesday, liveaudiowrestling.com, for a full review of WrestleMania 23, where Vince McMahon was much better in building up that year's card in Detroit. For Wei Ting, I am John Pollock, and we'll speak with you next time on Review of Raw.